My family shamed me for being childless, so I blocked them out when I got pregnant.
Boom. Now you don't have a child.
Yeah, who's ashamed now? To provide some background, I, 31 female, am married to my 301 I am sure that's probably supposed to be 31 as well.
No,
30
people
or
on the
30.
internet never lie. He's 301 years old.
Okay. Over the past 4 years, we've focused on traveling, working, and building our dream careers instead of having children. One of the main reasons we decided to wait is that I witnessed the impact of having kids at a young age on my sister, who is now 30. By the way, this comes from user DD23452 on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, I come from a very conservative family that believes a woman's primary purpose in life is to become a mother. Growing up, I never fully embraced these values. When I first got engaged, my family was thrilled, thinking I was finally aligning with their beliefs. However, my husband and I were clear that while we wanted children someday, we preferred to enjoy our lives as a married couple first, traveling and pursuing our passions.
Okay, I like this.
When my parents asked about our plans for kids, we consistently told them we wanted to cherish our child-free life. Initially, they brushed it off as a phase, convinced we'd be pregnant within a year of marriage. 2 years later, still no children, and they began calling me selfish. They frequently compared me to my sister, claiming she must be happier and that I was living a sad life because I hadn't experienced motherhood yet.
Yeah, she's experiencing adulthood.
They framed these conversations as helpful, but it felt patronizing. After 3 years of marriage, their comments turned rude and boundary pushing. They accused me of failing at life and being selfish for focusing on myself. This led me to distance myself from my family. I still visited during the holidays and occasionally saw my nephew, but I couldn't handle the constant judgment. Fast forward to 5 years after our wedding. We bought a house and worked hard to pay it off at the beginning of this year. We both built careers we're proud of, and we've traveled extensively, experiences I know would have been limited if we had children earlier. Recently, my husband and I had an important conversation and decided we were ready to start a family, believing we could provide a life for our children that we didn't have ourselves. Just 2 months ago, I discovered I'm pregnant.
Oh, wow.
Congrats. Congratulations.
That's awesome.
We were overjoyed and immediately shared the news with my husband's supportive family. However, since we're no longer close with my family, we decided to announce it online instead of telling them in person. When they found out, my family was upset that I hadn't told them directly. My mother, who has an unusual obsession with being deeply involved in her grandchildren's lives, often wanting to dictate how they should be raised, began calling and texting me constantly. This was surprising, as I typically only saw her during holidays. Eventually, she showed up at our house, and I mustered the courage to express that I didn't want her involved. I also pointed out that I seemed to matter to her only now that I was pregnant. My husband then asked her to leave and told her she wasn't welcome back. She didn't take it well and began showing up at our house every other day, which led us to seek a restraining order against her. I feel conflicted because I know she's excited about the baby, but her behavior underscores how little she actually cared about me until I became what she considers a real woman. Now I have family members contacting me saying that I'm being selfish and that my mom only wants to meet and be involved in her grandchild's life. At first, I was feeling extremely guilty, but my husband reassured me that I was doing the right thing, but I don't know. Am I being an a-hole right now? And we do have an update.
No, you're just sticking up for yourself and not giving in to your mother's wishes.
I think given the context, no. Without the context, it could be easily construed that you're being an a-hole. However, this person literally had not have any respect for the way you chose to live your life. Even when you said, like, it's not like you were like, I'm never going to have kids. Mm-hmm. It's just, hi, I'm not just a machine that makes babies. I'm a human being with a life.
I'm not a manufacturing factory. I'm not a manufacturing plant.
You're a fully autonomous human being, and they just wanted you to fit in that nice little box that they had made for you.
Give me children.
And now,
give me.
Yeah. And now that you fit in it, they want to talk to you. And it's like, hey, leave me alone.
I hate reading stories where their parents are crawling back to their children whenever they have children. Dude, come on.
Not just crawling. They're banging on the front door saying, let me in. I saw a comment telling me that she's probably going around lying about what's actually going on. So I think I'm going to try to pick a time to meet with my sister and see what she's actually saying, because I wouldn't put it past her to make up some crazy story to get sympathy from other people. Another update immediately after. I agree with most of you that I should not meet with my sister because that could be a setup for a trap. Also, you guys are bringing a lot of good points, and I'm starting to get really concerned that she could try to also use the law against me and possibly call CPS to try to get a hold of my kid. So if any of you guys have any suggestions on how to prevent this, that would be amazing.
Yeah, there's a thing called grandparent laws too. You never know what's going to happen.
Not everywhere, but in certain places.
Who knows, man? Dude, luck being it's definitely going to be where she is.
Well, I think it definitely helps that you have a documented restraining order against her. So I doubt that the mom is going to be able to get very far in any sort of process when an investigation is done and it's found that she was, aggressively trying to barge into the house all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finally, a lot of you guys are pointing out, why on earth would I ever consider letting her around my kids? The big thing is we are from an extremely conservative town where everybody talks and community is extremely important. But the only people who are important in this community are the ultra-conservative church-going people. To give you an example, these are the same people who organize trips to Planned Parenthood to stand outside and shame women. The main reason I'm scared is because my husband owns a construction company in this town. And if my mother decides to spread certain rumors about us, it could destroy us financially. People would literally start boycotting his business. We would consider moving elsewhere, but it scares me to move because that means he would have to start his business from the ground up and find a bunch of new clients. And with a new baby on the way, I don't think that's a really good idea unless you guys really think that we should just count our losses and move. I've been getting a lot of questions about why I don't want my mom involved and why I'm so uptight about not wanting to raise my kids the same way she did. To give a little backstory on the way I was raised, I suggest you look up what IBLP and AITAH. They believe that every aspect should be centered around God, and we had this homeschooling program that never really taught us anything. I had no idea how behind I was in school until after I got some formal education.
Do you know what that is?
No, I don't know what that is.
Remember Meet the Douglas family or 17 Kids and Counting? Okay, they dropped a documentary where that family was following this. I'm a Christian, I go to church, but they were going to a church, but like they turned it into a cult and basically like made people think this certain way. It's a fabulous documentary on Netflix, but it goes in deep about how like this community has like brainwashed a lot of people.
Yikes. Okay, so so you might have sort of a hive mind going against you here.
Yeah.
Because of the mom?
Yeah.
What a monster you'd have to be to sick an entire town of people against your own daughter.
It makes no sense because they're trying to line themselves up with ideals that aren't even true based on what they say it's based on. It's based on people, not based on the Bible. So I'm going to go on a little rant. It bothers me so much when people decide that what I say is more important than what the Bible says when they say we follow the Bible. It makes me really mad.
I don't want my future kids to be as behind education-wise as I was. Also, now that I have a little bit more independence and that I see how my husband's family functions, I realize how messed up some of the things were that we were taught was normal as kids. For starters, because I was a daughter in the family, I was expected to take care of all of my other siblings, and I was never really prepared for the real world. And that every bad thing that ever happened to me was somehow my fault and I must have stepped away from God. I have no problem if that's how you want to raise your kids. I just don't want to do that to my kids. I'm the second oldest in my family and I have 5 younger siblings that I basically had to parent. There were also a huge double standard in my family. All of my brothers were taught how to start businesses and become heads of households, etc., etc., while my sisters and I were taught that our job was to be a homemaker. And I have no problem if that is what somebody wants to do. I just don't think that I should be forced to do that and raise my kids the way that I don't want them to be.
Go above the hive mind, please.
Yes, go rise above the hive mind. And you know what?
Join our hive mind.
You can join our hive mind every weekday at 3 p.m. PST when we go live on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitch. All you got to do is tap our profile. One thing that I would say is that I think you should look into if you have any sort of, if they do like defame you and it impacts the business to the point where it becomes like financially unviable, you may have grounds for a lawsuit considering that whatever they would be spreading about you is a lie.
Yeah. And it's so hard to accuse people of being defamed too in civil court.
Yeah. If my future kids want to re-enter that community, they're more than welcome to. Really quick, I want to say that I think it's very impressive that OP has open mind enough to be like, I completely disagree with all of this, right? I would never live this way. However, if you choose to live this way, by all means, go ahead. I don't want to though, so don't make me. If my future kids want to re-enter that community, they are more than welcome to, but I also don't want them to think it's the only option because growing up, I was always told that if you lived a different lifestyle, you were going to go to the bad place. There are a lot more details I could go into, but I have a hard time talking about them because, again, I'm still trying to go to therapy about some of the things that I went through as a kid. Again, sorry about all the random edits to the post. I'm really new to this, and that is the end of that story.
Wow.
No need to apologize to us, OP. That was a great story.
That was a great story. Thank you for sharing, and good luck with your
hope
kids.
your family the best.
All right.
That is the end of that story, though.